Hi, everyone. I'm David Barrow, owner of Assist Staffing. Excited to bring another episode of Assist Insights, a series dedicated to discussing the issues that matter most to our staffing or to our business clients here. Today, we have one of the staffing industry's most trusted advisors, Tom Kosnik. He's the founder and president of Visus Group and the powerhouse behind President's Roundtable. With over 25 years of experience helping staffing firms grow smarter, stronger, and more profitable, Tom is unmatched in his insight on leadership, strategy, and organizational change. So thank you, Tom, for joining us. From what you're hearing lately, how are manufacturing companies dealing with this uncertainty? What are some of the things they're doing?
Well, two things I would say. The two big, or maybe the big three things, would be first managing inventory. So, David, you probably have heard that as well. There are some
Yeah.
manufacturers that know, come this time of the year, I'm going to need X amount of supply. So, based on the tariffs and whatnot, there were a lot of manufacturers that made early purchases. And I forget what these are called, but there are places that you can actually buy inventory and store inventory without being taxed a tariff. I forget the name of them.
hmm
We've got some folks that manufacture, clothing, and they bought, so they buy the materials from overseas. And then the other big thing is that, and you'll relate to this, and that is, planning, really planning almost week to week versus planning seasonally. So we've seen
hmm
we've seen manufacturers really kick up the gears on micro planning in terms of everything involved in their business, new orders, inventory, human capital, management of people. And so that's another change or shift we've seen in manufacturing. And then third, of course, everybody was on the edge of their seat with the big beautiful bill to find out what's going to happen with
Yeah.
taxes. I'm sure, another like anybody that owns a business is talking to tax attorneys and what they need to do there. But yeah, the whole tariffs and planning for, doing the financial analysis on, what these materials are going to cost and what can they charge or what can they pass on to consumers. There's not a manufacturer out there that's not thinking about those kinds of things. And they're just, and again, where it used to be, more seasonally, it's really gotten to be like a micro planning, micro analysis on all these different variables within their plants.
Yeah, that's a great point. And we too are seeing, excuse me, clients really wanting to touch base quite frequently, definitely weekly, just to discuss their needs and to do monthly sort of reviews of their business. So there is a lot more sort of a touch with the clients, and that's important because there's so much of the future that is just uncertain with tariffs, with the big beautiful bill, with AI. Things are changing so rapidly. When clients express concern about uncertainty and future, what are some of the common fears or misconceptions you think staffing firms should help them tackle head on?
Some of the common concerns, I would say, number one, no surprise, immigration,
hmm
immigration,
Yeah.
and the changing landscape on immigration. If you look at
Yeah.
well, just a couple of things here. Last time I checked, which was not that long ago, we were deporting about 2,000 people a week, so that's about 500,000 a year. There are different reports that talk about how many immigrants have come into the country in the first 3 years of the Biden administration. It was somewhere between 9 and 12 million immigrants. And
Mm-hmm.
and so if we're deporting only 500,000 immigrants a year, there's a lot of folks that are here are here. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
we hear the media splash and all that stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
the Department of Immigration is putting pressure on apartment complexes to share data about the people that are renting from it, on and on and on. That's again, that's more social media hype than reality. So you can imagine typically in a 10-year period from 2000 to 2010, and then 2010 to 2020, only 4 million in each of those 10-year periods immigrated into the United States. And so
Mm.
now you go from 4 million a 10-year period to 9 to 12 million in a 3-year period. It's quite an influx. But what's happened now with the change of administration is that you have a lot of concern about who's, are these folks working? Where are they working? Are they paying taxes? Are they are they getting, who's work comp insurance coverage? How's all that happening? And there are liabilities about that. And I mean, I'm hearing more and more about raids and knock on doors, and so
Yeah.
staffing firms really, they really need to advise their clients on some of these issues and regulations and concerns and changes. And when you look at people coming into the country, specifically, in the southern border, it's now down to a trickle. So
Mm-hmm.
okay, so and the problem that manufacturers have is that these born and bred Native Americans, they don't want to work
Mm-hmm.
those manufacturing jobs. And so who's
Mm-hmm.
going to do the work?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just manufacturing; it's hospitality, it's the
Mm-hmm.
hotel and food industries. The Americans don't want to work these jobs. The other piece in terms of the uncertainty is just the ebbs and flows of the work. I'm already seeing signs at all the fast food places, help wanted signs. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
technically, we still have a labor shortage. And manufacturers aren't foolish. They know the supply side of things. So
Mm-hmm.
they're concerned about that, and their staffing vendor really needs to advise them through that. What does the candidate pool look like for these jobs?
Yeah, immigration, it's in the headlines every day. It's in the headlines today.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and again, you have to be real careful on what you believe when you read it in the newspaper, and some of it is more social media splash than reality. And but I'll tell you, if you own a manufacturing, boy, I certainly would be tied into the local networks, the chamber of
mhm,
commerces and things of that, and at least somebody on your staff tied into the local networks to find out what the scuttlebutt is on all this stuff that's happening,
mhm.
because it is happening.
You talked about a staffing firm sort of guiding their clients through some of these issues. In your experience, what separates a partner who adds clarity from one who sort of adds to the fog?
The staffing firms that are partners can really advise their clients on the whole human capital acquisition strategy. So just like a manufacturer has a supply chain, there's a human capital supply chain as well. Good staffing companies, well-managed staffing companies know the human capital supply chain, and
Hmm.
they bring that data and that information, and that data could be candidate pools, it could be wage information, it could be competitive data on what other manufacturers are charging. It could be what's happening in the environment in terms of ebbs and flows, and what's available. So it could be AI, what's happening with AI. It could be advice on government regulations and what's happening with government regulations. That I mean, you and I were just talking about some of these new laws in Illinois and New Jersey, and of course California is just onerous.
Hmm.
Human capital. So a staffing partner, is really bringing all that data, that research, those solutions, advisory services to the table versus, David, versus, oh, do you have a job order for me?
Mhm.
How many people can I get you today?
Yeah, that's not a strategic perspective on the solution that is being provided.
Yeah,
Yeah.
things have changed. Things have changed a lot. It's a much more dicier employment candidate pool, much more dicier human capital supply chain, and yeah. So the staffing firms that are true partners, I mean, they're looking at that stuff. They're advising their
Mhm.
clients on that, on all that stuff.
Many of the manufacturing clients we're working with, they're under pressure to for productivity, but at the same time manage cost control. How should they think about contingent labor under those conditions where there's this tension of, hey, we got to produce more with less, and really to manage costs?
But just look at your turnover rates, David. So if you've got a staffing company that knows your culture, knows your environment, helps you put the job profiles together, helps you hire or bring to the table the right kind of people, that lower turnover rate equals dollars. And in fact, there's not a company out there if they that wouldn't benefit from really understanding the cost of turnovers, the cost of no shows, the cost of early quits, all that stuff. And so
Mhm.
when manufacturers are looking to manage manage the budget and create efficiencies and things of that nature, they really need to find a staffing partner that can fully understand their culture, understand the management style, understand the decision making, understand the job, and can really not only advise but also bring the candidates that really best match that organization's culture.
You often talk about the leadership mindset. What traits do you see as especially valuable in manufacturing leaders navigating unpredictable labor conditions?
Gosh, man, there are so many organizations, David, that they just don't have any kind of a message, any kind. When we talk about vision, vision is really that's an internal concept. Hey, the vision of the org, and by the way, the vision of an organization is not we want to be north of 100 million in revenue. That's a financial goal. A vision really articulates a place and a space that this organization wants to get to. There's a great read, John Cotter, Leading Change, and John, one
Hmm.
of the things that John Cotter says in there is communicate your plan times 10. Because it's not, you just can't say it once and think that people are going to remember it. It doesn't work that way. Repetition is the best form of education. So the great leaders, they not only do they value the concept of planning, but they plan, and they do what we were talking about earlier. They do a lot of the micro planning. They do the monthly planning, the quarterly planning, key initiatives, action items, follow up, accountability, all that good stuff. The second piece would be, okay, are we hiring the right people? Do we have job profiles aligned with what these individuals actually need to do? Are we compensating them fairly? Do we have good management? Not management like traditional management, but the new style of management as coaches. Are we offering good solid training and development? My gosh, I've got friends that have training and development programs. They go in some of these manufacturing facilities, and it's terrible. They get high turnover rates, and because they're throwing people into the fire, right, and not giving
Mm,
limited
yeah.
training and development. Do we have equipment that works? Do employees have the equipment that they need in order to succeed on their job? How's the environment? Do we give back in any sense? Is there any kind of social giving that people can rally around, that employees can rally around? So these are the things that develop an engaging culture for an organization. So when I say that the people part of it, the people part of it is that creating that engaging the culture. look, it's a business, and business is to create wealth. And so you've got a lot of whoever owns that entity, whoever owns that asset, they have a lot of people, internal, external people that are relying on them making smart financial decisions. So are they managing to profitability? Are they offering 401k plans, or do they offer a good quote unquote total compensation package with salaries and compensation
Mm-hmm.
compensation or bonuses and benefits and things of that nature. So I forget what it is. Five Temptations of a CEO, Pat Lencioni, wrote that book. And the first temptation is for the leader to not understand the financial responsibility of running that organization. So the good leaders, they have people underneath them, so that if something happens, they can very quickly drill down and understand, assess, and help solve very quickly. And are they doing it? Is it reliable? No, but their leadership style, the way that they're organizationally set up, they have the ability to do that.
So let's flip the script. What do you wish more hiring managers understood about how staffing firms actually vet and deploy talent during volatile times?
Anything that the hiring managers can fully understand of the fulfillment process, because in the end, that's the promise that the staffing company is delivering, is that we're going to deliver. We have a fulfillment process to deliver candidates to you on this kind of basis, of this kind of quality, for this kind of price, in this kind of a time frame. So the more that the hiring managers know about not only the fulfillment process, but the actual people that are doing that work, oh my gosh, this is going to lead to more and more success. There's not a fulfillment team out there that wouldn't want hiring managers to come visit them in the bullpens and see what they do and how they do it. And so that I would say is one big thing that staffing vendors would really appreciate from hiring managers.
For manufacturing leaders wondering, is this the right time to invest in a flexible workforce? What framework or mental model would you recommend to help guide that decision?
Boy, yeah, I would say again, those human capital decisions, you really have to look at the targets, your financial targets that you're trying to achieve, and then you have to look at again, what's coming down the pike in terms of the how many how many people that you're going to need to facilitate product off the line, or some other functions that are happening within your organization. So really the decision in terms of flexible capital really depends on the flow of what's happening with their clients. And so the more information, the better data that they have on their orders, the better planning that they're going to be able to do with their human capital needs.
So before we close, we ask this at the end of all these conversations. Let's do a lightning round. One thing staffing leaders need to stop doing.
I would say one thing staffing leaders need to stop doing is undercutting each other on bill rates and margins and all that.
And talk and provide a service, and not get down to pricing.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing manufacturing execs should do tomorrow morning.
They should really ask their staffing vendors to come up with not necessarily an assessment, but ask their staffing vendors to come up with suggestions and or solutions in light of what they're trying to achieve with their whole human capital needs, and in light of the everything's happening with AI and the rapid change that AI is descending upon all business.
And then lastly, one leadership quote you actually like.
Start with the end in mind.
Stephen Covey, yeah. Well, Tom, thank you very much. It's been fantastic. Next time on Assist Insights, we're going to take on market volatility. So until then, be well and keep leading with clarity. Thank you very much.